5:10 or 5 to 10?
Meeting will come to order. We are now holding our preliminary budget hearing for the 2009-2010 fiscal year, Wednesday, September 9th, 2009, 5:01 p.m. It says 5:01 up there, so. Are we all right, Mr. Attorney?
Well,
that's what I just looked at.
I feel that you can kill 30 seconds.
I can, as a matter of fact.
You can kill more than that.
I don't know whether
We could do the invocation and...
Right.
are you good with that? Okay, all right. At this time, I would call on Mr. Stan Bowling to give the invocation, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Please rise.
Let's pray. Lord God, this evening we pause for a moment, recognizing our needs and your great provision and our request for good results. We ask that you give our leaders discernment for the needs of all the parties that are involved, discern solutions and opportunities and beneficial changes. We ask also, Lord, for the ability to operate under the budget that's being considered, and we ask and commit to you the results. In your name, amen.
Amen. Join me in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, now let the record show it's 5:01. And at this time, I'll call on Mr. Baird, County Administrator, to give the budget overview.
Good evening, Commissioners. The total budget we're proposing for the next fiscal year, which is 09-010, is $302,670,415. It's $83,443,999 less than last year, or about 21.6%. In this budget, the ad valorem taxes are down $9,866,333, or 10.1%. We have a net decrease of 38 full-time positions. In order to get this budget down, we have $513,000 in health plan changes. We've incorporated the positions that are eliminated come to $2,300,665. Also, we've had a decrease in our revenues from half-cent sales tax of about $400,000, or 10%. The aggregate millage this year is going to be 5.1436, which is 10.5% below the current rate of 5.7466. We are considerably down below rollback in this budget. We have not included any fee increases except for one fee increase, and that's at the golf course for non-Indian River County residents. The rounds will go up $1 a round. So that's the only increase. Otherwise, all rates are staying the same, or they will be decreasing in this budget. The first budget that we're going to do tonight is going to be the general fund budget. The proposed general fund millage is 3.0892. It is 0.3198 below rollback, which is 9.4% below rollback. It is only about 0.6% above the current millage rate, and it is the only millage that we are going to propose tonight that's above the current. All the other millages are below. And the proposed budget for the general fund is $77,314,789. That's about $9,850,000 below the current year, or 11%. We've eliminated roughly 9 positions in the general fund, which account for $365,000 savings. The ad valorem tax towards the the taxpayer is down $4,632,000. We have health plan change savings amount to $280,000. Our travel's down $28,000. We've got about $176,000 estimated energy savings in this budget, even with the rate increases that we see from the electric. So as you can see, the overall budget's down considerable. Are there any questions?
Commissioners, any questions? All right.
No, Mr. Chairman?
Yes. None?
No.
Okay, all right.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
I did get my budget book today, and I noticed that the tentative budget for the county attorney's office is set at a 14% decrease. And at the workshop in July, after fairly lengthy discussions, the board approved a 12.3% reduction, which I believe was what you were requesting across the board of everybody. So I would ask that you revise the tentative budget to reflect the decrease of 12.3 rather than the 14.0 that's shown in the tentative budget.
I thought we had agreed to go to the 14.
Yeah, that's my recollection of the board's direction, is to stay at the 14. That ended up working out to, I think, 26 furlough days a year, and that was the board direction. As I understand it, as I recall, it was to stay at the 14% and not have an increase from where.
And we did a change in the middle of it that made.
What I have on my notes of that meeting is that Jason, at the hearing before the vote, in the interest of full disclosure, advised that a 12.3% rate would involve a reduction of an additional $15,000 and a proposed decrease from $119,790 to $104,747. And that's how my notes reflect what happened.
No, for some reason because I remember the discrepancy coming out in my mind, and I'm not doubting what you have in front of you, but there was a cut that was made in lieu of, in fact, I believe there was a vote to eliminate an attorney's position at that time, and in lieu of doing that, you came back with the reduction of the furloughs. That's correct. And that I believe if I'm not mistaken, Commissioner Solari had brought all the language and everything from whenever we added the attorney's position and why we did it.
Well,
and we had budgeted a full year's worth of deferred comp for the county attorney's position, and you had said that as your position was part of the way through the year, that wasn't warranted. I had my concerns about the funding of that position overall, but we decided that would be a wash between the difference that we were having in the furlough days, and that the budget worked out at the 14% with the 26 furlough days.
It only works out at 12.3% reduction. If it's going to be a 14% reduction, there'd have to be more than that in terms of furlough. I don't know how much more.
Okay. All right.
And again, I'd like to also point out that this is not the first year that my office has taken reductions. Last fiscal year, there were pay cuts both in my salary and the assistant salary. And I know I can work with 12.3, which is what you all requested as we went into the budget process. I think it's going to be more difficult at a 14% reduction.
Mr. Chairman?
Commissioner Solari.
At this point, then, maybe the better question is just to revisit the extra attorney question. Because, again, I think that will probably make the budget balance if instead of having these extensive furloughs, we went and reduced it to the 2007 position, or number of positions we had.
I don't think eliminating a position would eliminate the need for furloughs. It might reduce the amount of furlough days that the other employees were required to take. Also, I think there's a lot of benefit to having additional minds to draw on as a resource, in that if you eliminate a position, you've taken away 25% of your legal background and expertise, whereas if you keep the 4 positions and furlough them 1 day every 2 weeks, you're really losing only 10% of your brain trust. And the idea of having a more varied background in the office is also helpful in terms of making things function correctly.
Well, the brain trust goes beyond the 4 attorneys. I think that the paralegals and other members of the legal staff probably continued contribute to that, so it's certainly less than the 25% you mentioned. I mean, it's not as bad as that. And again, if they're not there and they lose continuity, I really don't see how effective they're going to be. So again, I find the problem of, I'll just go back to 2007 when we hired the extra attorney. And when we hired the extra attorney, it was because we had a lot more work. I showed last time that the amount of work has dropped substantially, especially in the area of the P&Z, and I think possibly the Board of Adjustment. And I still have a problem, or can't understand why, with something like the building department, when we built up the number of inspectors and everything because of the amount of work that was done, and when that work dropped, we dropped back that number of people in there, why the same principle wouldn't follow in the legal department. I mean, again, this came up at a meeting, and it was, well, we need another legal mind because P&Z is very busy because we're having more development work, and all that's gone now. I mean, the numbers I showed, if I remember right, P&Z meetings used to last 3 or 4 hours. They now last barely an hour. And so that the volume of work has clearly been reduced substantially.
The volume of work I'm not sure that it's been reduced substantially. It's changed. We used to have a lot of development approval work, subdivision plats, contracts, et cetera. Now we're having more workout issues. Witness the emergency ordinances we've been doing on a fairly regular basis for the last 6 or 8 months. It seems to be more the nature of the work than the amount.
Mr. Fletcher, Commissioner Fletcher.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I share the same concerns, and looking at the whole furlough process, at first it was delivered to us as a neutral move. It was going to be budget neutral. I believe later on it was identified that it was about $15,000 addition. So I don't know if the concern about additional furloughs, if we were going to a staff reduction, would be of a concern. In addition, some of the points that we just brought out, this was done in 2007, I believe March of 2007, and I believe the justification was the additional burden by planning and zoning, the planning changes, and the increased legal concerns internally. Just checking, we're about the same as far as outside legal representation, but I believe that I may not have been able to identify all of the cost centers where the outside legal has been. I know Jason's here. I don't know if Jason's prepared or can identify some of the outside legal concerns and cost factors. But I don't believe the justification is there for that position. And I believe the furloughs are a disruptive process. Now looking at it in a larger picture, it's inconsistent with what has been done throughout the rest of this county government. It's the only area where a furlough has been applied. I have some concerns about the value to the taxpayer. When you have varying people, you have 7 bodies in that office that may have to take 1 or 2 days off a month. I believe that there's been some concerns about taking that time off, since we may be looking at a new attorney or someone from within to take that position. And I think it was also pointed out that we'd have a time where the chief attorney would make that decision on what would be done with the staffing at the time. And I believe this was a way to push it towards March, when Will is anticipated to retire. But I have some concerns just by the basis of what the county attorney's office is doing on a continual basis, and I believe that at the very least it may be disruptive. Jason, were you able to identify some of those numbers?
Yes, Commissioner Fletcher, as you asked me this afternoon about our outside counsel costs for right-of-way, I think.
Right.
In fiscal year 2007, our outside counsel costs between our two primary outside counsel firms that we use for right-of-way. It was about $22,000 and change in fiscal year 06-07. Year to date, we are at about $73,000 in the current year for those two outside firms.
So it's safe to say that we're using more outside counsel now than we had in the past. And such being the case, I mean, we're down to less than 25% of the permitting process, or basically what's happening at P&Z, as you stated. We all watch the same meetings. They're less than an hour at best, and they used to be all-nighters. And for that reason, I don't see the justification in having the four attorneys or the seven bodies in the legal office when the rest of this building has had to do some downsizing and cutting. And it's all based upon permitting buildings and work-related activity that just is not present. Just simple as that. And I don't believe we're getting value if we're going to begin furloughing if people are not going through that furlough process right now. We may have to shift that towards the end of the year, and you may have the same challenge you have with vacation time, where you're losing an entire office to get rid of these furlough days. Otherwise, we're going to be compensating people for their furlough days. I just don't know if it's the best practice, since it has not been done anywhere else. And I for one, would like to see a change and see if we would look at an employee reduction. So I'm prepared to make the motion to go forward with an employee reduction in the county attorney's office, and that'll clarify the matters on the percentage that County Attorney Will Collins is concerned with, and some of the other issues that I've heard or have seen through some of the numbers that were revealed earlier today.
Mr. Chairman. I'll second that.
We've got a motion and a second. Yes, Commissioner Wheeler.
All right, first, I don't see furloughs being as disruptive as losing 25% of your staff. You're looking at about 3 times 26 days, about 78 days a year. They take 3-day weekends. They take vacations. I don't think it's disruptive at all. Secondly, I'd like to know what the difference is between if we were to eliminate a position versus what the furloughs are, and what's the difference in cost. And also, give me just a moment.
Take your time.
Oh, I would suggest that we leave this at 14% today, go back and look at the record, which is all on DVD, and we can find out exactly what happened at the budget hearings, and bring that back to next week's budget, because we can't add in, but we can cut.
One of the things we could do, the difference we're going to have to do is we could take that out of contingencies, and, you know, the differential here between this can be taken out of contingencies. So to get it to 12%, what you do is you're going to reduce your contingencies to make it up and keep the overall dollar amount the same in the budget. I'd suggest that.
Well, I'd prefer to deal with this next week when we get what actually happened to the budget hearings. There seems to be some question about that. I believe the vote was 3-2. I don't remember who voted which way.
I voted in favor of the eliminating one position, and I think Bob did.
Yes, I did.
Okay. So that I'd like to look at that. I've heard some rumblings around the building that this was going on, and you know, I think that I think to cut 25% of our legal staff is not the right way to go.
But again, it's not 25% of your legal staff, because you're ignoring the paralegals and other members of that department, which I believe provide substantial
Support for the attorneys.
Support and assistance, yes. So it's not, I don't want to continue to denigrate them by suggesting that not.
That's 25% of our attorneys.
Okay, so you haven't cut much.
And who would you suggest that they cut?
Last hired,
I think it's not our position to determine that.
I don't either, but I think you ought to evaluate all the attorneys.
Y'all go ahead and throw it in, but I think, I'm just, you know, looking at this, I remember specifically why we hired, and I do understand, and Mr. Broad, I'm not ignoring you, give plenty of time there.
Thank you.
I do understand that the workload has shifted, but I think also the workload has shifted for example, I know that Mr. Collins reviewing plats as much as he did,
And our
doesn't do
work-
that.
Our workload shifted too.
I know.
We've still got 5 secretaries.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's a lot of that here, and I think everybody's staying pretty busy. And I just think
We no
that,
longer have an assistant.
Yeah.
and I got a problem, you know, I've heard people here mention micromanagement, and I don't like the idea of going into Will's office and micromanaging his office either. The only attorney here is Mr. Solari, and he doesn't practice. So I don't know what other qualifications we have other than to listen to the person that we've got our confidence in and running the legal office and trying to decide what's best based on his input.
And I appreciate your passion, and I guess I've realized a long time ago, humbly, the only thing that makes us qualified for this position is getting more votes than the other person. I mean, and really, that's it. The rest of it is based on just what our experiences in the past. I'm not trying to act like I'm an attorney or smarter than our attorney, so please don't take it that way.
Have we stepped into other departments and micromanaged, gone beyond the director of that department and his advice, and then require them to fire somebody?
No, we certainly have changed the
Cut
budget.
So
around.
what's the interest in the attorney's office all of a sudden?
Oh, no, we've certainly cut
Well,
budgets.
Commissioner, my position hasn't changed, please.
I know it has.
Okay, thank
Right,
you.
Mr. Chairman, and just to address the point, we did. We set a policy that we did not want to increase the millage rate. And as elected officials, that's what we should do, is set policy. It was up to the county administrator to work with his department heads, and he determined a 12.3% cut would do what we directed as policy, which is not to increase the millage rate. The county attorney has come in with a budget that met that policy directive. How he determines to achieve that policy decision we implemented, I believe, is up to the individual department heads, and in this case, the county attorney. So he did what we asked, and actually, I think his complaint is he did a little more than we asked, and he's just trying to get it to where he was told to get to. So he did what we asked as policy. We said get to 12.3. He's at 14. It's his responsibility. He'll live and die and be remembered as a county attorney by his staff, and I think he deserves the right to run his staff the way he sees fit.
And one of the concerns I also have is, where do we start drawing the line here? Maybe tomorrow I'll go upstairs to, or downstairs here to planning and zoning, and go in there and walk around and see somebody's not busy enough and come back and put on the agenda, and we'll require Joe to fire somebody.
You're not allowed to do
For
that by
budget
law.
purpose.
Mr. Chairman, if I might, the county ordinances speak to these points in particular. And in terms of board employee relations, it says that neither the board nor any of its members shall in any manner dictate the appointment or removal of any county employee, except as pertains to the county officers, Mr. Baird and myself.
That's
So you have the
exactly my
authority to
point I
hire
was
and
saying
fire.
earlier.
It also says the county administrator is hired by the board and is responsible for the administration of the attorney's office. And I'm just telling you that, in my opinion, administering this fiscal decrease through furloughs is a better approach at this time than eliminating a position. It may be that at some point in the future you will need, but I'd rather try and bridge the economic troubles and have the same talent and resources available without having to go into more new hire situations, which are always kind of a adventure.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Collins. Mr. DeBrawl, welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Bill DeBrawl, Deputy County Attorney. The workload in our office has shifted. Instead of reviewing plats, we now have foreclosure suits that come in every single week, sometimes 2 and 3 at a time. I can't tell you how many, I bet we have over 100 active foreclosure suits that we represent the county's interests on. Instead of doing outside counsel work with eminent domain, back then we did land use. I'd like to see what the bills for Schuett and Bass for our land use lawsuits were in comparison to the eminent domain. Back in the day, 2005, 2006, I was doing much more land use law. Now I'm doing much more eminent domain law. So the workload hasn't lessened. We're just doing different things. That's the only thing. Lastly, this is something that we've discussed in our office amongst ourselves for the last several months. When Mr. Baird informed everyone that they would have to make their fair share cuts, we decided as a group that rather than say goodbye to someone and have them appear like the sign-carrying people did at yesterday's meeting, we all decided that we'd take a hit for the team and do our 12.3%. That was our decision that we made. It wasn't an easy decision. It would have been much easier to try and jettison the first or the last person hired, but that was a choice that we made. And as a group of attorneys and staff, I would ask that you respect that decision that we made. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. DeVoe. On the 12%, what is the figure? How much is that?
About 17,000, isn't it?
Yeah,
16.
it's roughly a little over $15,000 difference between the two.
How much is the 12% though?
12.3
The 12.3% reduction?
versus 14.
The decrease of 12.3 would be $104,747 and looks like 25 cents. My writing's small.
Right.
Well, I just can't go along with that 25 cents. Well, wait a minute, I'll come in right now.
Okay. All right, Commissioners, any other comments? Any other from the public? Okay. I'm going to stay firm on my position that I was on the last one. I remember why we had hired it, and therefore I'm going to stay where I am with it. So if there's no further discussion.
Well, the only thing I'd say is I'd like to reiterate what Commissioner O'Brien said. You know, we gave marching orders to everybody, and Will Collins came in, managing his office, and did as requested. And now we're turning around and going back and doing this again. Apparently, there's been some lobbying going on here to pick up the third vote.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes. Go ahead.
let's make it perfectly clear, that there's no lobbying going on here. Oh. Let me clear your throat.
Yeah,
No.
I do that often.
I see that. I thank you very much. No, there's been no lobbying going on here. It's a matter of being fair and consistent with the rest of the employees of this county government. We did not furlough anywhere else. And again, there was a $15,000 differentiation. I had requested that at the beginning of the meeting when we had gone in that direction, and it still comes up with a $15,000 difference. It's not budget neutral by eliminating the position, and now I have the concern that there'll be an additional drive or possibility for furlough, even if you did have an employment reduction in the department. It's not micromanagement. It's one of the options that Mr. Collins gave us to decide upon. So it is an option that he presented to meet with the budget constraint.
What would the difference be? I still haven't got an answer from Mr. Brown about the difference between the furlough and the cost of there's three different attorneys, so what would the cost be between the three of them? Give me all three numbers.
What the budget as we have right now is a 14% decrease, $732,170. If the assistant county attorney position was eliminated,
I would just assume stay off of.
or if
I'm curious, we're talking money here, we're talking budget, I'd like to know what the difference, how much more are we going to save over the $104,000
Oh, okay.
that
All
Mr.
right.
Collins
Okay.
has already offered?
We would have to find out what position would be eliminated then.
I'd like to see it from all three of them and see what
I'm
it
good with
is.
that. I'm good with that.
it varies in each case. The elimination of, just starting with the assistant county attorney, would produce a budget of $732,234, basically about $50 difference from the budget as proposed. And that's assuming all of the other positions go back to full-time, no furloughs. If the deputy county attorney position was eliminated, the budget would be $751,554, or about 11.8% decrease. So that's more than we currently are. It's about $18,000 more than the current proposed budget. If the senior assistant county attorney position was eliminated and all the others were returned to full-time, the estimated budget would be $785,881, or a decrease of about 7.7%. So there's a difference depending on the current salary and benefits of those individual positions and their estimated payouts, because we've included the payouts that those attorneys would be entitled to under their contracts.
Jason, what I'd like, so I can compare apples and apples, right now at 12.3%, we're going to reduce, that 12.3% is going to reduce the budget by $104,747. if we add that 104,747 back into the budget, and then I'd like to know how much we're going to save over the original proposed budget on each attorney. What's the difference in cost?
For the assistant county attorney, the savings from the current budget is $119,368.
That was for which one?
Assistant.
For the assistant,
119,800?
119,368, I think.
350, okay.
For the deputy county attorney, the savings is $100,048. And for the senior assistant county attorney, $65,721.
So with the exception of the one attorney, we're better off as far as budgetary means go, from what I'm hearing, to go with 104,747 and still have an attorney here. Am I wrong, or is that correct?
From a financial standpoint, yes.
So-
Only one of those three positions.
Only
would
one of those
be-
three positions would exceed the 104,000. Thank
Right.
you. And if the other 1.7% is added into the 104,000, what does that come to?
I think the 104,000 is the 12.3% cut,
Well, yeah, that is. So
and
14
119,000 is the 14% cut.
at 19%, 19,000?
119,000 is the 14% cut. The
119.
difference between those two is about $15,000, between 12.3 and 14%.
Okay. Well, I think that makes my point. We can have an attorney and for the same amount of money that we wouldn't have an attorney.
Absolutely.
It doesn't really make your point because you're looking at it statically. If you look at it dynamically going out for the next years, we've already been told that most probably our revenues are going to go down next year also. And we're going to probably be facing further cuts next year. We can address this for 1 or 2 years one way, or else have to revisit for longer furloughs if we go down the furlough track. And it just makes a bad situation worse. And would like to then go back to the attorneys for a minute. I am at a loss to see how professionals can function when they're taking 2 furlough days a month on top of vacation days and holidays and everything else. Just because their time is lumpy, professionals' time is generally lumpy and not smooth. It's not a 40-hour week. If they get a matter that comes before them and they have to work 60 or 70 or 80 hours that week, they ought to be expected to work those hours. And if you're trying to interject these irregular furlough days into that schedule, it makes it near impossible. So again, while you think furlough days are good, I don't see how professional offices can operate well with them. And that's the basic, we have a basic decision, or difference there, which I respect your side of it, but that's where I'm coming from. I just want to articulate that and say that that's the basis of my reasoning. And that's why I'm going to vote the way I'm going to vote.
I think people can work on furlough days just like they do holidays and vacation days and sick time and other things. I don't think it interferes.
Okay, well, we've got,
There's already been some concern about the furlough days, and I believe that we're not hearing all the response about the furlough days as well. There's been some discussion about moving those furlough days to at least January, and I think we'll be put in a position. We'll be put in a position by not having those uncompensated days pushed out past January, when we may be looking at an additional attorney or one of the existing attorneys being chief attorney, and then having the decision to make as to what has happened to the furlough days. And I think it's putting whoever's in charge in a difficult position, in an awkward position.
okay. Any further discussion? Any further comments from the public? Okay, the motion then was to, or was it?
To eliminate one attorney position.
Okay, all right, and
One attorney position according to the attorney's, one of his recommendations, one of his options to reduce the budget.
okay. All right, is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay.
Nay.
The motion passes 3-2 with Commissioner O'Brien and Commissioner Wheeler dissenting. Okay, next, we have the,
See if anyone wants to speak on the overall general fund budget before we close it.
The overall general fund budget, at this time, this is the, anybody want to speak on the overall general fund budget? Seeing none, let the record show that adequate opportunity to address this issue has been given to all. Okay?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
I'd like to make a motion to adopt the tentative millage rate of 3.0892.
Second.
Thank you. We don't need to read the amount that it is below rollback by law?
That's the next motion.
Okay, I just
I
want
don't think we need to put the percent below rollback now.
we don't need to read that into the record? I just want to ask.
You can, I mean, it's 9.38% below rollback.
Okay. And, got a motion to approve, and I'll second that for discussion. Is there any discussion? Any comments from the public? Seeing none, all those in favor of the proposed millage rate of 3.0892, which is 9.38% below rollback, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. The motion passes unanimously.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
I'd like to make a motion to adopt the tentative budget of $77,314,789.
Thank you, Commissioner O'Brien, and I will second that. We've got a motion to approve the budget for $77,314,789. And is now for discussion. Any questions or comments, Commissioners? Seeing none, any discussion from the public? This is on the general fund. Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. Motion passes unanimously. Okay. Next, that moves us on to the MSTU.
The MSTU is a taxing fund for all services in the unincorporated area of the county. The proposed millage is 1.0774, which is 0.1672, or 13.4% below rollback. It's also 0.28% below the current millage rate. We are proposing a budget of $27,029,020 in the current year. This is down $5,171,831, or 16% from the prior year. The highlights of this budget are that we eliminated 9 positions, which accounted for a savings of $976,685. Transfers out to the transportation fund and back to the general fund for the sheriff is a reduction of $890,950. We also eliminated part of this as a tracking station. We are not going to have guarded lifeguards at the tracking station, and that accounted for $110,628. And that's a summary of our reductions.
Okay. Commissioners, any questions or comments?
Yeah, Joe, I know that the Ocean Rescue folks had made a proposal to try to find a way to keep tracking station open. I know you and Jason looked at the numbers, and I guess our policy is, over the years we've established, we need a level of 2 lifeguards at a guarded beach, and at that level of service, we just couldn't keep it open.
Yes, we're still going to continue to work for staff, and we'll come back in the event. What we're doing is the lifeguards have gotten together with the recreation department, and they're looking at ways they could shift their personnel around and maybe keep it open. If we can do that, we'll be coming back to you before October 1st and say, we still have the savings here, but we're keeping it open. We want to give them an opportunity. They're being very creative, and if we can accomplish it, we will.
Okay, I just want to acknowledge that I know they have been working hard to find a way to make this work within the budget parameters, and I hope they can, because it'd be great if we can say we can bring this budget in where we're at and still keep that park open.
Well, it's clearly to be able to keep the same level of service, or as close to it as we possibly can with the reduced amount of budget.
Okay.
And I really do applaud that state, because
They
this
took
is
the
really
initiative, they came up with some ideas,
Yeah.
and they're working hard, so I appreciate that, and hope we can find a way to make that work.
Yes. Thank you, Commissioner, for mentioning that. Okay. Yes, sir.
I just want to say, during the last budget hearing, we did discuss the Gifford Aquatic Center and how we were going to be able to look at having that open and available to the public as much as possible. And at onset, I believe there was about 3 weeks that we were going to be able to have the Gifford Pool open, in addition to what it had been as a seasonal operation. We had about 2.5 to 3 weeks of latitude as far as for funding and for personnel demands. And since that time, the Gifford Pool Committee has met countless hours, as well as our staff, our recreation staff has banded together and tried to work out as much as we can to have the pool open as much as possible. I know Jason was a large part of that as well, Joe and Mike. And Jason, if you have that information, I'd just like to share it because it appears that a budget-neutral option has come about, and it's greatly extended the amount of hours and availability for the Gifford Pool, which everyone has agreed has been a very positive move. Jason?
Yes, Commissioner Fleischer. The board did direct staff to get together with the Gifford Pool Committee to discuss the possibilities on an expense and revenue neutral basis to kind of stretch the season out. The original budget as proposed had the Gifford Pool open from April 1st to September 15th, 59 hours a week full operation. We sat down with the Gifford Pool Committee. They had some positive ideas. They wanted to kind of stretch out those shoulder seasons, and what they proposed was opening the pool March 1st instead of April 1st, and then closing it either October 31st or November 30th. We took a look at that, and in those shoulder seasons from March 1st through May 30th and September 1st through either October 31st or November 30th, to have a reduced schedule of 26 hours a week that would be closed on Monday, open on Tuesday through Sunday, basically, of a schedule of about 3 or 4 hours a day on the weekdays and a full day on Saturday, and then about 5 hours in the afternoon on Sunday. What we found, we were concerned about the FRS requirement that if we extend past 6 months, we have to pay retirement on all those temporary positions that are no longer temporary in the eyes of the FRS. So that was about a $10,000 barrier to that. However, what we came up with was a plan where we could do 3 shifts, where we work one group of people for 6 months, beginning in March through about August, and then the second group of people from May through about October, and then we would have our traditional core of just summertime employees, those college students that may come back. And basically we avoided that $10,000 cost because that was a barrier to really doing anything. So basically what we worked out was a plan that we could staff that pool from March 1st through October 31st with the full 59-hour operations from May 1st to September 1st, and then 26 hours a week in those shoulder seasons in the spring and in the fall. It ended up being $76 more than the current budget, but we'll call that even, and we can meet those requirements and meet that, and with that Gifford Pool Committee, they are in tune with the usage, and we wanted to cooperate with them on that, and we've been able to meet that goal if that's what the board so decides to do.
As long as the budget doesn't increase on it. And I was very concerned about the additional FRS, because that would have really busted that budget substantially. Okay. Any other questions or comments, commissioners? Okay. At this, we'll go then to, does that conclude the MSTU? Or did I?
Yes, I'd also like to point out there aren't any raises for merit or cost of living for any employees in the general fund or the MSTU budget, so for the public.
Okay, thank you. All right, next, at this time then, we will open up any public comments on the MSTU. Anybody from the MSTU? This is the Municipal Services Taxing Unit. Welcome.
Good evening. Joe McManus, President of the United States Life Saving Association for the Southeast Region, Indian River County Ocean Rescue Lifeguard 2. Just want to compliment staff for giving us the opportunity to listen to our proposal for keeping tracking station open and guarded. My concern is that if it falls apart, is tracking station going to be open and unguarded? It's a serious concern. We have the ability to close the park. It's closed and opened every day, and it's done for safety reasons. And there's nothing that I can see that would prevent that from happening if you're removing lifeguards from protecting the public who are going there. So I just want to get that out. I feel compelled to do that as President of the United States Life Saving Association. I believe we'll work through this. I think we can have the staffing at a reasonable cost and continue to protect the public there like we've been doing for the past 26 years. So I compliment staff. I appreciate the work, and I look forward to working with you.
Good. Thank you,
very
Joe.
much.
Thank you, Joe. Thank you for the initiative. Okay. Any other questions or comments from the public? Okay, Commissioners?
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to adopt the tentative millage rate of 1.0774, which is 13.43% below rollback.
I'll second that. Thank you for being here tonight, Commissioner.
Yeah,
Making all these
keep
motions
things
for me.
moving
Yes,
on.
sir. I appreciate that. We have a motion and a second on the floor. Motion from Commissioner O'Brien, second from me, to approve the proposed millage rate of 1.0774, and that is 13.43% below rollback. And no further discussion. We'll proceed to vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. The motion passes unanimously.
Commissioner O'Brien, I may not be as good as you, but let me try one.
Absolutely.
Okay, thanks. I'd like to make a motion for the budget for the municipal service taxing unit for the coming year at $27,029,020.
I'll second that. We have a motion on the floor for the proposed budget for the MSTU, the Municipal Services Taxing Unit, of $27,029,020. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. The motion passes unanimously. Transportation Fund, Mr. Baird.
Yes, Commissioners. Next, we have the Transportation Fund. It's not a taxing fund, but it does derive 70% of its revenue from transfers in from the taxing fund. The Transportation Fund includes my Public Works Department, the Engineering Department, the Traffic Engineering, Road and Bridge, and Stormwater for the county. The budget you have in front of you tonight is $14,372,690. It is $3,101,368 less than last year, or 17.7%. Highlights: we have eliminated 12 full-time positions in this budget, 1 part-time, and 1 budgeted temp position. We've also done a reorganization of eliminating 1 manager and 2 foremen, which saved $243,423. The staff reductions of the 12 full-time employees and the part-time amounts to savings of $853,108. We've had a reduction in our fuel costs we're estimating for next year, which will give us a savings of $238,500, and health plan changes, which will save us another $47,160. There aren't any raises for any employees, general employees in this budget, or cost of living, or merit, or any type of raise. And that's a summary of the Transportation Fund.
Okay. Commissioners, any questions of the Transportation Fund? Seeing none, is there any comments from the public on the Transportation Fund? Okay. At this time, I'll consider any proposed changes to the tentative budget.
Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Commissioner O'Brien.
I'll make a motion to adopt the tentative budget for the Transportation Fund of $14,372,690.
Got it. I'll second. Okay, I'll let Commissioner O'Brien, or Solari second that. We've got a motion to approve the Transportation Fund proposed budget of $14,372,690. Is there any further discussion? Any questions or comments from the public? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. The motion passes unanimously. Moves us to the Emergency Services District. Mr. Baird.
Yes, Commissioners, the Emergency Service District is for fire and ALS, advanced life support. It includes, everyone pays this tax who lives in the county except for Indian River Shores. In every other city, they pay this tax, and in the incorporated area. The proposed millage is 1.7148. It is 11.3% below the rollback rate. The proposed Emergency Service District budget is $26,736,213. or it's $4,286,039 less than last year. Some highlights in this budget: we're opening an additional station, Station 12. Even though we've got a decrease, we're also opening an additional station, which will be in the Gifford area, and it's going to have 7 full-time employees. Annualized cost of $501,512 additional. One of the reasons this budget's down so much is we've finished station repairs, replacement, and upgrades, which come to a decrease of which we've finished last year. There were $2,372,190 are not included in this year's. Fuels savings of about about $91,000. We do have presently a merit raise, and there isn't a COLA raise in here, but pursuant to our union contract, there's a merit raise still in here of $273,918. We've also decreased several of the line items for operating, and we do not have any new capital in this budget like we have in the past. It's only due to the hard times that we're having. We do not have any rolling stock replacements. So that's the reason to have this large reduction. We are also eroding fund balance here, but we are doing it intentionally, but we are doing it slowly.
Okay, and Mr. Baird, just going back to being able to open the station and doing that with seven full-time individuals, that's going to be in I think for the public, and because I see somebody here that wrote some letters as far as how we're doing this. This is going to be with the dual certified individuals at that station?
Yes, it's going to be, we're only putting an ALS engine. We are not putting an ALS engine and an ambulance. It's just going to be an ALS engine at that. That's why we only have 7 people. We're also taking some people from our fire inspection. We also eliminated an assistant in this budget. We enabled assistant chief position. We eliminated it and that position when it was over fire protection prevention.
And the individuals at this station will be able to do medic calls as well as fire calls?
Yes.
Whichever the need. Thank you. Okay. Commissioners, any other questions or comments?
Mr. Chairman, there's 2 things. One, in Station 12, there's been some, I guess, talk out in the community that we were postponing the opening of that station. And what it was, we had a grant that was expiring at the end of September, and we weren't quite sure we'd have it finished before the grant ran out. So as a safety measure, staff applied to the state for an extension of the grant. The state only does increments of 6 months, so we got a 6-month extension, but we're still on schedule to open that station as soon as it's completed, and we're not postponing that. And then the other thing, just to verify, at the budget workshop, I believe we did determine to put the 2 paramedic supervisors back as paramedic supervisors. Is that still
yes.
correct? Okay, thank you.
Thank you for confirming that. Okay, any other questions or comments, Commissioners, on the Emergency Services District? Seeing none at this time, I'll open it up for the public. Welcome. Name and address for the record, please.
Yeah. Walter Geiger, 3944 58th Circle, Vero Beach, Florida. I have two topics I'd like to talk about as far as the emergency services budget, and I have a handout here. Can I just come around and hand it out to everybody? I'm not a good typist.
Thank you, Mr. Geiger.
Thanks. You're a great printer.
Thank you, sir.
Pretty good print, yeah.
Better than typed.
Thank you very much.
I'll give it to the clerk. See you later.
My concern is that there's only one group of employees in all of Canton government that's not making sacrifices like everybody else, which could possibly cause more layoffs in the future. The recession has caused many to lose their jobs completely. Others have had cuts in their salary. Others have had hours cut. The list of sacrifices that a lot of people have made goes on and on. The newspaper says the Indian River Medical Center has reduced the work week to 36 hours, cut pay anywhere from 2 to 7% to prevent future layoffs. Piper has laid off about 500 people in the past year, and a lot of the remaining employees have to be idle at least 1 week every month. They only can work 3 weeks of the month. The sheriff's budget that I read recently indicated that he said he had no money for COLAs or merit increases, so they would not get any increases. The County Teamsters Union has agreed to freeze their wages, and the county administrators recommended that all non-union employees have their wages frozen. According to the newspaper the other day, the city of Vero Beach is also going to have to furlough the employees at least 1 day every month, starting in October. Many cities and counties in the state of Florida and their fire rescue departments have reduced their staff in the fire rescue department. They have frozen their wages, and some places have actually cut their wages in the fire department. The only exception to all of these is here in Indian River County. Every other county around us has either frozen the wages or cut them. Indian River County is still asking for their merit increases. As a taxpayer, I'm disappointed that to me, that's being selfish. I mean, everybody's making sacrifices now to keep other people from losing their jobs. But they continue to fight for their merit increases. In my opinion, I would hope that between now and the next budget hearing, the firefighters would come up and agree to freeze their wages. If they don't, I would hope that the county commission would freeze their wages for them. There's one other issue that I think, or topic that talked about in the past, is this scheduling of flexible hours with fire rescue people. It is recommended that the staff use flexible scheduling at some of the less active fire stations. For example, some stations receive a higher number of calls during the season when part-time residents are here. These same stations may receive substantially fewer calls during the summer. The use of flexible scheduling would allow for these stations to be staffed with a crew of 4 rather than 5, depending on the use of sick and vacation days. Whenever there are enough employees to staff these with 5 employees, there would be no change. However, if more employees called in sick, then these stations could reduce to a staff of 4 for just that day. The 4 remaining employees could run together and crew with both vehicles. This would avoid the need to call in other employees on overtime. The resulting overtime savings for the district could be significant. Operations during the season would continue to be the same as it is today. So I would recommend that flexible hours be granted to the administrative staff for fire rescue people. And I would hope that the merit increases would be terminated.
Thank you. Mr. Collins, along those lines, the merit increases as part of a union contract, and I don't know whether you or Mr. Baird would be the best one to address that. Okay. Joe, explain why.
Right now, it's included. They have merit in their contract. They have a 3-year contract. They'd have to take it to their membership and vote not to have it. And I think Wayne, the union president's here, if you'd like to speak to that. We have to show.
I just wanted to explain, Mr. Geiger.
And to enforce, for the county to step in, you have to, and not allow it. We have to show that we can't, what they call financial necessity, which we do not have the ability to do because we are we're strong financially in that district. And so it's up to the membership to vote not to take the raise. But we have, they have the right to it because it is in the contract.
And the flexible, the hours they work, that's also part
That's
of the
also, we
contract.
can't go to flex time. That would have to be negotiated in the contract. We'd have to sit down and bargain that with the union. And we can have those discussions and see if they're willing.
You mean management decisions are in a fire contract? The administrative staff can determine how many firemen it takes to operate a truck?
They can, but once it's in the contract as a part of the union contract, then it's a different animal as far as you making decisions once that contract is agreed upon. So that's really where we are with it right now.
That sounds like something that shouldn't even be in the contract, in my opinion.
Well,
Maybe I need to be on the negotiating team next time.
thank you, Mr. Geiger. Thank you for coming down.
Thank you.
Anyone else wish to speak? Mr. Formant, welcome. Name and address.
Thank
for the
you. I'm
record, please.
Daniel Formant. I live at 2267 Megan's Ocean Walk, Vero Beach, and I'm also a member of the Taxpayers Association, as Walter is. And I'm really just going to reiterate a few things that Walter said, and maybe give you a few more facts, as well as to our friends, the firefighters, who of course fill a very important role in this community. But as Walter said, you know, there is a great deal of pain out there in the private sector and the public sector too. But the private sector, just to give you a few more facts, I think in July we had 15% unemployment in this county, the third highest in the state. And the other fact is what I brought to your attention last year, I believe, is the pay that the firefighters receive. You know, if you take the total number of firefighters in the range of 230 or so, and take the total cost salaries that you have on your budget for this year, that is a cost to the tune of about $64,000 per head. And if you add the benefits to that, you are all the way up to $94,000. If you take the private sector and the 9 classifications that are listed for this county, the average salary for the private sector is in the $36,000 to $38,000. So it's just things to keep in mind for you and for the firefighters. Again, the same message as Walter has is that everybody's got to do their share, and they need to understand the difficulties that everybody is in. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tanya. Any other questions or comments from the public? Seeing none, that we will consider any proposed changes to the tentative budget, Commissioners. Okay, seeing none.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, Commissioner Fletcher.
I'd like to make a motion for the Emergency Services District to adopt the proposed millage rate of 1.7148, which is 11.27% below rollback.
Got a commissioner from motion from Commissioner Fletcher. I will second that. We have to adopt the proposed millage rate of 1.7148. That is 11.27% below rollback. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion passes unanimously. Next,
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to adopt a tentative budget of $26,736,213 for the Emergency Services District for the coming year.
Second.
got a motion from Commissioner Solari with a second from Commissioner O'Brien to adopt the proposed budget of $26,736,213. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. Motion passes unanimously. Now we have environmentally sensitive land acquisition. Mr. Baird.
Yes, the proposed millage for the this is a general obligation bond issue that was voted on by the public to purchase environmentally sensitive land. The proposed millage is .0725. The proposed budget is $2,330,010. It simply makes the debt service payment on the bonds. And the two bonds, this one makes, there's $11 million issued in 2001 and the $7,800,000 issued in 2003. one of these bond issues, this will be the last year that it'll be in place, and one of them will be paid off, and it's the 2003 bond issue.
Okay. Any comments from the public on the bond issues? Environmentally sensitive land? Okay, seeing none, any changes, commissioners? I'll entertain a motion for the tentative millage.
Chairman, I make a motion to adopt the tentative millage for the environmentally sensitive land acquisition of 0.0725, and there is no rollback rate to apply.
Okay. All right, I will second that. We're now voting on the motion that we adopt the proposed millage of 0.0725. No discussion, we'll proceed to vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion passes unanimously.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
I'd like to make a motion for the proposed budget amount for the environmentally sensitive land acquisition to be set at $2,330,010.
Okay.
Second.
We've got a motion from Commissioner Fleischer with a second from Commissioner O'Brien that the proposed budget for the environmentally sensitive land acquisition is going to be $2,330,010. If there's no discussion, we'll vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. The motion passes unanimously. Mr. Barrett, land acquisition 2004.
Yes, this is for the debt service and the general obligation bond issue of $50 million that the public voted to put in place. The proposed millage rate is 0.3154. The proposed budget for the debt service is $4,793,098.
Okay. Any comments from the public on the 2004 bond? Seeing none. Any changes, commissioners? I'll entertain a motion for the tentative millage.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
I'd like to make a motion to adopt the proposed millage of .3154. Rollback does not apply here.
Got a motion to adopt the millage. I'll second that of 3.1 or .3154. If there's no discussion, we'll vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion passes unanimously. On the tentative budget.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
Move to adopt the tentative budget for the land acquisition 2004 of $4,793,098.
I'll second that. We've got a motion to adopt the tentative budget of $4,793,098. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion passes unanimously. On the aggregate, Mr. Baird.
Yes, aggregate millage, this is just an announcement. The proposed aggregate millage rate is 5.1436, and it is 10.5% below the rollback rate.
Any idea where that puts us heading towards in this as far as statewide?
Well, I think we're going to be one of the lowest, definitely. We hope to have the lowest general fund millage in the state this year. We've always been second. We're trying to get to first place. I don't know of many other counties that have reduced their taxes, reliance on ad valorem taxes as much as we did this year, and that was because that's the policy that you set for us and reduced it almost $10 million, $9,800,000 is a lot, so it's a substantial reduction.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Any other questions or comments on that, commissioners? Seeing none, any County Board of County Commissioners sitting Solid Waste Disposal District Board, that'd be us. Solid Waste Disposal District, non-ad valorem portion of the budget. Mr. Baird.
Yes, so the proposed rates for the 2009-2010 year it's $40.38 per residential waste generation unit, or $64.61 per house. The commercial rate's going to be $28.13 per commercial waste generation unit. A waste generation unit is 1 ton, by the way, 1 ton of garbage. The readiness to use charge is $17.10. The proposed budget is $10,869,504. That's $760,607 below the current year. All the rates are down. The residential rate's down this year by 1.4%, commercial's down 0.7%, readiness to use charges down 2%. So all these rates were also reduced per the direction of the Board of County Commissioners. The savings basically amounts in this budget is we've got savings on fuel, we've got savings in renegotiating our contracts down, and we also reduced a management position. We downgraded a management position and made it an operations coordinator, and that's how we got the reduction in this budget.
And so with these being non-ad valorem, that means that this is not a tax, but it is a fee, and just want to that we understand that really a tax is a fee, and this did go down also.
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, any other questions or comments, Commissioners? Seeing none, comments or questions from the public? Okay, any proposed changes or amendments? I'll adopt the non-tentative non-ad valorem assessment rates.
Mr. Chairman, make a motion to adopt the non-ad valorem assessment rates of $40.38 per residential waste generation unit, $28.13 per commercial waste generation unit, and readiness to use fee of $17.10.
Second. We've got a motion and a second to adopt the waste generation units and the ready-to-use fees. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. Motion passes unanimously. Go ahead, yes.
Chairman, I'd be happy to make a motion to adopt the tentative budget of $10,869,504 for the solid waste disposal district for the coming year.
Second. We've got a motion from Commissioner Solari and a second from Commissioner Flesher to adopt the tentative budget of $10,869,504 for the fiscal year. For next fiscal year. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. Motion passes unanimously. Adoption of non-ad valorem assessment charges. Mr. Baird.
Yes. The first one is Vera Lake Estates. This is for the roads in Vera Lake. It's an MSBU. It's $19 per parcel acre. And the other one is the East Gifford Stormwater MSBU, and it's $15 per parcel acre.
We need to do these individually for the MSBUs?
I think we typically do them all together.
That's what I thought, but I just wanted to confirm that I didn't. I know there's a lot of following
Do you want to go to the streetlights next?
Yes, I can do that.
Go ahead.
We also have the streetlights. These are also all per parcel acre charges, and there are no changes from the current year. Gifford Street Lighting District, $25. Laurelwood, $18. Rockridge, $10. Bureau Highlands, $23. Porpoise Point, $13. Laurel Court, $27. Tierra Linda, $23. Vero Shores, $21. Big Zora Park, $19. Royal Poinciana, $28. Roseland Road, $1.50. Whispering Pines, $18. Moorings, $12. Walker's Glen, $24. Glendale Lakes, $40. Floralton Beach, $38. And West Wabasso, $21.
Any comments from the public? Any questions, Commissioners? Okay, seeing none, any proposed change amendments to the calculated revised charges? Okay, motion to adopt the tentative charges.
Chairman, I'll make a motion to adopt everything Jason just said.
Thank you for not reading that again. Absolutely. Got a motion to adopt everything Jason just said. And it's from Commissioner
That
O'Brien.
includes the Vera Lake Estates and the East Gifford.
Yes, sir. Thank you. And with a second from Commissioner Solari. If there's no further discussion, we'll vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion passes unanimously. Non-ad valorem dollar budgets. Mr. Baird.
Yes, the first one's the Housing Authority. It's $141,047. The next is the Special Revenue Funds. That's $50,418,069. The Debt Service Funds, which is the non-ad valorem debt service funds, that's $1,242,233. This is the Dodger bonds. Capital projects, $16,830,000. Enterprise funds is $46,525,442. And the internal service fund budgets are $24,068,300.
Okay, thank you. Any questions, Commissioners? Any comments from the public? Seeing none, consider any proposed changes, Commissioners? A motion to approve the tentative budget.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the non-ad valorem dollar budgets, item 1 through 6, as discussed.
Thank you. I'll second that. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of approving the non-ad valorem dollar budgets, items 1 through 6, signify by saying aye.
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 All those opposed say nay. Motion passed unanimously. This time, the time and place for the final budget hearing, Mr. Baird. I was gonna let you
Yes,
finish
the
that.
final budget hearing will be at 5:01 PM on Wednesday, September 16th, in 2001, in these chambers, the County Commission chambers located at 1801 27th Street.
Thank you very much. Is there any further business to be transacted at this time? Seeing none, thank you very much for being here, and now declare this meeting adjourned.
Maybe we're on a trend.
I was actually going to jump into one of those big ones, but you beat me to it. I mean,
The ones that really throw you off is 4-0 whenever all of us are here. That's the one that,